Welcome to another live episode. I am your host, WIZE, and I'm excited because my next guest has an extraordinary story. I can't wait till he comes on and he shares his life. Welcome to the show, David Messano. Hello.
Hey, thank you so much.
Oh man, pleasure's mine. Yo, you have you have a crazy story. You have an extraordinary story, and I'm excited for you to share it. Let's start first of all. There's 18 of y'all.
Yeah, yeah, there is.
So to tell us something about your family and 18 and there's 18 of y'all. That's a lot. I thought we had a lot and there was six of us. Tell
Oh
us
yeah, no,
so
no,
tell us a
for
little
sure,
bit
it's
something
a
about
lot.
your life.
Yeah, so growing up in 18, it was there's ups and downs like any family, but I think I always try to rely and focus on the good times because that's like all we had as young kids, but as we grew up, you started to realize a few things about the family. But we grew up in a poor family. It was a poor family of 18, and also we my parents were very religious. I would even say cult religious. I actually do say it was cult religious. As I grew older, I started to understand what it really was. But we grew up in this church where it was very limited of believing other things outside of that church. So there was no hanging outside with people that weren't associated with the church. You couldn't hang out with friends out from school. There was no TV. Getting a job and going to school to make more money, that was a no. Like you couldn't have like a really good job. You couldn't make a lot of money. Their essence of believing in that was that money was the root of all evil, which growing up with that, you have these little things instilled with you. But for me, I know it affected me, but I grew up with a family of 18 and it affected a lot of us, like in the way of limiting our beliefs and what we really wanted to do in life and just going out there and seizing our purpose or even going out there to find it. Now, I would say though that we had a lot of things that were good for us, like growing up without TV. I wouldn't say that's not a bad thing because nowadays I see people that are so attached in that area, whereas we just want to talk to people. We want to go and have a chat. We want to be out there, get associated, have fun. And that was the other thing about being poor is we learned to make something out of nothing. So whether it was playing baseball in the house with a paper ball and a vacuum extension, like we didn't have money like to do anything. And that's where we had to form our own creativity. And that's one thing that I think really exponentially made me grow and be a better person in life because it made me think and use that imagination, which is so powerful in any area of life. So taking these little things in any area, whether it's going to school, whether it's starting a business, whether it's helping out clients, learning how to do it through the imagination, being imaginative, whether it's marketing, whether it's being able to get leads, sales, using this type of stuff is like it kind of comes normal to us because we were kind of thrown in that as such a young age, full of challenges and things such as that. But growing up in a big family of 18, it was such a joy. You never were isolated. You could not have time alone. Wasn't happening. Like you're always going to be messed with. I was the second youngest, and where I am the second youngest. And yeah, it was crazy just to grow up in such a family. But as time goes on and everyone starts one by one moving out of the house, you start to think, man, like we're not gonna have this bond all the time. And that was one of the things is like we had each other. Like we never needed friends. And a lot of us still hang out with each other still. But that was one thing like you kind of go out into I call it the unknown. Like you leave your family. For me, I left my family at a young age at 16 years old, and I still don't think that's super young, but it was young enough to go out. I was away, like I went to Vegas. They all lived out in California, and I was all alone by myself with one other family member. And I had to learn my way of life. I had to get out of those limiting mindsets. So it was a crazy lifestyle, man. Very crazy. It was fun though. Everything I think happened to get me to where I'm at now. So there's a reason behind everything that happens in life.
So you move you separate from your family, young 16. but then you sign up for the Marines. How was that experience for you? What made you sign up for the Marines?
Yeah, so I was at a point in my life where I didn't really understand. I didn't understand what I wanted to do. I was actually supposed to go into the Marine Corps earlier than I thought. Well, I was expected to go into the Marine Corps earlier than I did because I was going to go straight out of high school. I ended up not because one of my sisters actually persuaded me that, oh, like go to college, figure out, try and find something that you're good at. And I really loved art and I wanted to go to school for architecture. And that was my thing. And I went to school and it was like, man, like this ain't me. This is not me. I'm not getting any push. Like it was just going to work, going to school, and I worked out all the time. That was like my relief, my way of getting away from the world was working out. And I did these things over and over again, and I was like, "Man, like, what is the point of this?" Like, the only thing I really love doing is working out, and I love helping other people do that as well. And I would get a lot of people coming up to me like, "How do you do this? How did you get to where you're at? How are you so big?" And I wasn't trying at all to teach them. I just loved it because I got into working out because at one point in my life, I was close to committing suicide and at a very young age. And working out was the way I got out of it. I got out of it just bit, and that's kind of my way of getting away from life is working out. And then slowly I started incorporating nutrition, and those two things combined just kind of helped me seize the life that I wanted, you know? And I went into the Marine Corps because I wanted a challenge. I didn't think I was disciplined enough to achieve what I wanted to. So I stopped going to college. I gave up college and not fully, but I gave up college for the time. I got some leave at my job. They actually gave me leave for the entire training process. And I went to the Marine Corps for 8 months of training, no family. I didn't have contact with my family for 4 months. I didn't have any contact with anyone in the outside world for 4 months. It was crazy. That seems like long, but I don't think it was. I read a lot about different people, and that was the key reason why I got through it pretty substantially. But a lot of people go through a lot more than I did, and the 4 months really gave me some time just to understand myself. And it was tough training. Like it was freezing cold days, early mornings, getting yelled at constantly, but learning to find that grit and that self satisfaction and that pride within and not trying because you in the Marine Corps, you can't rely on anyone outside of you to gain pride because they're just going to keep knocking you down as much as they can. They want you to quit and because they want to see if you're really about it, you know, and going into that, it was like, man, like I want to challenge to see if I really do have what it takes to achieve the goals that I want to achieve. And as I went into the Marine Corps, all these things started happening. I gained a mental discipline. I started to hang out with the people that I wanted that had what I wanted, you know? And I put myself around a different group. I put myself into the environment that I wanted to be in. And that kind of changed my life. But the thing with the Marine Corps is I wanted to be a MARSOC officer, which is Special Forces for the Marine Corps. I didn't just want to be another number. I wasn't what I was trying to do. I wanted to stand out. I wanted to make a change, and MARSOC Special Forces was where I wanted to do it. But I started training for them while I was in my 8 months of training for about 2 months at the end. And I started getting really, I was pretty fit. It was probably the peak fitness I was at in my life. And it was swimming, running, long days of just training. And I loved it. It sounds brutal, but I loved every second of it because I knew what it was for. And I knew there was a bigger vision to it. And as I kept going, I slowly left my training camp where all the training was at. And I had to move because I decided to sign up as a reserve, which was a mistake. And when I went back to my reserve station, all that training got thrown to the wayside. I couldn't train with them anymore. I wasn't supported by any of my commanders. I wasn't supported by my platoon. Even though I had the fittest fitness scores in my entire platoon. I wasn't given the opportunity to go after these things. But as time progressed, I started to like not care anymore. And I was like, man, like this is what I want. Like I started financially and mentally started going under because as a reserve, you don't make anything. If you want to become a reserve in the military, you have to be doing it for a reason, because you're not making money. There's no real benefit to being a reserve except for serving your country, and that was the whole gist about it. You don't get a college degree, you don't get the scholarship, you don't get any type of food or financial support. It's literally you come a weekend out of the month, 2 weekends out of the month, and literally you just go do your thing. But there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you don't show up, it's game over, and you're gonna get terrorized by it, which that was kind of what happened to me. I did not show up, but there was a few assignments that they had sent to me when I told them I couldn't, and it was just stressing me out to the point where I almost lost my job. I lost a promotion multiple times, and I was just giving up everything. And I was like, I'm done with this. So I had an opportunity. Actually, I found a mentor that was helping me learn about the stock market, and he actually started teaching me about it, and I started making some money in it. And I was like, man, this is my big chance. Like, I could do something here and maybe stay in the military too, and while making money. And I started thinking about it, and I stopped really caring about the military, and they started to take notice to that. So I would go and just do the bare minimum, but they started noticing, and sooner or later they wanted to get rid of me. And the way they got rid of me was they sent me to a mental asylum, which is the one of the ways that you can got rid of me. And basically, you get sent to this mental asylum. Worst week, but also one of the most fruitful weeks in my life, because it taught me a lot about who I am. What I had time alone just to really think about my life, and I got sent there for a whole week. And when I got back, I was discharged. Now, that was a whole different flip. I got out. As soon as I did, I called my mentor up. I was like, hey, like this happened. And he was like, I was super excited. I was like, man, like I can spend more time with you, and I can really dial in. Like, this is what I want to do. And his answer was, if you can't handle the military, then you have no place in this. And that was it. That was the end of the call. And my heart just dropped. I was like, well, there goes one, and I was like, this is crazy. And then right after that, I got home where I was living at the time. And then the people that I lived with, I didn't tell them yet, but they had told me, oh, like some things come up with us and you, and we just don't agree with it. And we don't want you to live here anymore. So that happened. I just got out of the military. I lost my mentor, and then I just got booted out of the house that I was in. And then on top of that, I had a very close relationship with one of my family members, and I had called her to talk to her and just tell her everything that happened. And at the time, I was living in LA, and she lived in LA too. And called her up, and I'm like, hey, like this just happened, and bam, she was like, I agree with them, and she disappeared. And I was like, my life just literally dissipated within the matter of a day. And I was like, holy cow, like this is crazy. Like my emotions were just shot, and I didn't know whether to cry, laugh, like I didn't know what to do. And it was like such a crazy moment, and I had to move back home closer to family just due to the whole situation. And the job that I had, they just denied my promotion again. And it was like, this is crazy. Like I have nothing. And I think it's at that point, I read this book right before like all this had happened. And in the book, it was called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And in that book, he had mentioned it's right at the point of failure when everything starts to happen for you. But it's only when you have the right mindset, because you only get what you are. You don't get what you aren't. That's not how it works. And I have been working on myself mentally and physically for so long, especially trying to go to MARSOC. And I was like, man, like I cannot, no matter what happens in this situation, I cannot let my mindset get down. And as I moved home, I was like, I got to start over from square one. So I had to go back, get another 9 to 5 job. I went back to school to study finance, and things were just boring. It was like, this is not what I am. I know I'm more. I know I'm a leader, and I know I'm capable of more. And I went back to school, and I was like, this isn't for me. Like, I love entrepreneurship when I was doing the stock market. and trying out new businesses. So I kept working, kept going to school, and I started my entrepreneur journey when I was 21, and I started renting out cars on an app called Toro. And I started doing this to make some side income. And the first vehicle that I got, I made double the car payment in the first month, and I was like, "Holy, I can make some money off of this." So 2 months later, I went and got another car, and I ended up by the end of the year or halfway through the year, I had 6 cars, and I started making a stable income. Now, I wasn't making enough to quit my job, but I was like, my vision is I don't wanna work here. This is not where I wanna work. I don't wanna work a 9 to 5. I need to give myself more time to build my business. And so I took a leap of faith in myself, which I think everyone should do, and I quit my 9 to 5. I said, "If I fail, I fail. What's the worst thing that can happen? I'll just go and get another job." It's happened to me multiple times. Like, I wasn't afraid to fail, and I think that was the key thing is that one thing that I always remember and I will always remember is what Steve Jobs said. He said, if whenever you get into a business sector, you have to have a passion for it or you're not going to win. And I knew that I wanted to be successful and across all odds, I wanted to succeed. And I started this entrepreneur journey and I lost it again. A year in, things just started going wrong. I was making good money. I made enough to leave the 9 to 5 job, but I lost that all again. And it was like, man, like all over again. I had to start all over again, get another job. And this time I worked as an electrician. And it was like, I had to go back to working long hours. And it was like, man, I don't know. This is crazy. Why does this keep happening to me? And I was like, so I need somebody to teach me how to do this. But what I didn't realize is that through this whole process, I was learning. And I think failure is the key to success. And I think it's failing forward, continually failing, not being afraid to do these things over and over and over again. And this slowly led me to where I am today. I decided to give up my 9 to 5. I decided to give up everything and get a mentor that I had been following for such a long time. And I trusted what he did and I seen that it worked. And I wanted him to teach me how to do what I was passionate about, which was teach people about fitness and nutrition and the mindset it teaches you about. And that's exactly what he did. But one of the things that he did on the first phone call that we had is he yelled at me. The first thing was he yelled at me and he was like, what are you doing? Like, why did you like not do this earlier? You have so much capability. Basically, in other words, he was saying like you've been killing it, but why are you so afraid to give that to the world? And then one of the things that he said that what oh, and this is what I live by now is he was like, if you want people to follow you and you want people to come to you, you need to become the person that you truly admire. Who is the person that you admire? And he said, then you need to become that person every day, inside and out, and then you need to give that person to the world. And nobody will not take what you're offering because it's pure. It is you. You're giving yourself out there. And so now I teach nutrition, mindset, and fitness training. And I first show people what it has done to me. And that's what I give the world. And I gave up everything to do it. And it's been an amazing ride and it's doing well. And we're continually pushing forward to be able to one day, every day, continually get more and more people and one day have a group across the world.
Awesome, awesome. So Triple Fitness was born. Tell us something. What exactly? What do is it? An online program, or do you go to people directly? Are you teaching people through core nutrition and through personal interaction? Are they dealing with you online personally, or is it they have to come see you at a studio, or you come to them? How does it work?
Yeah, so it's purely online. I do not do anything in person anymore. My prices for in person, if I were to ever do it again, are going to be extremely high. I've trained people in person. I'm a CrossFit coach. I don't train as much now because as much as I'm teaching, I'm also training for competition. My dream goal is to be a coach, a CrossFit coach online and in person, but I also want to be a CrossFit athlete. Right now, I'm working on a competition right now. It's the Northern Classic for CrossFit. It's a very big competition. The qualifying competition is in January. So I train and I don't teach people. This is not at all my method unless somebody is actually trying to train for competition or sports or whatever it is they're trying to train for. I don't teach anyone any of the stuff that I do because the physicality that I like taking myself through is something totally different than what other people would want to go through. So I train anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours a day, 5 days, sometimes 6 days a week because of the preparation I want. And I'm a true believer that if you bleed and sweat in training, you won't bleed and sweat during the time of war. So that's what I want it to be like. I want to train hard now, so when I do get to that competition, it's going to be a breeze. But online is the only fitness that I do. I coach everyone at anywhere. Right now, I have a pretty big clientele that's mostly based all around California. I think there's one person in Japan, and we're starting to branch out. But my methods have worked so well, and it's very, very, very simple. And I don't want anyone to think that it's, oh, this fad diet, and then you need to go to the gym for 2 hours. That's not at all what it is. I have a client that I actually trained for 5 years, and this was my first breakthrough with fitness with training somebody else. Is I had him train for 5 months, and the first 2 months he didn't even step in a gym. I had him literally go to the gym, just touch the door, and then he left. That's how I had him do that for 2 months, and I just needed him to get in the habit of going. We changed a few things with his diet, nothing crazy. He wanted to fast, so I added some fasting in there. I didn't take anything away from his diet. He could still eat the foods that he loved to eat. We started drinking more water, we rehabilitated his metabolism. And what that means is you cannot kill any diet will not work unless your metabolism is functioning correctly. So I don't care what diet it is. You can try any diet in the world. It will not work if your metabolism is messed up. And that's the first phase of what my whole program is about is metabolic restoration. And basically we figure out how to get your hormones back in balance so you're back to homeostasis. And right after that, we start shredding the weight loss. We start shredding the weight. And that's where you start to see fast results. And people start, oh my goodness, it's just shedding off my body. And that's the point is once we get your metabolism back into homeostasis, functioning correctly, it'll start operating perfectly fine on the diet that we choose. And it could be anything. I'm a big advocate of fasting, but I don't push that on everyone. You can
That's
fast.
that was a question I wanted to ask because that's something I've been seeing a lot lately is people talking about fasting and the importance of fasting and the benefits of fasting. To you, in your opinion, should people fast?
Yeah. I so first off,
No,
there's scientific.
I'm it's something I really want to know because I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
a few people who are fasting, and they
yeah,
say they see a difference in how they eat throughout the rest of the day. Like when they break their fast, they feel different. They can feel, I don't know, I guess a little bit much more energy. They feel differently because of the fast, because of what it's doing.
yes.
It so can
That's
you explain a
exactly
little bit
right.
something about it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've done fasting for so long, and I'm actually on the bulking phase right now, due to the competition. But I will, as soon as the competition is over, I will be going into long intermittent fasting. I do something called an OMAD fast. An OMAD fast is nothing that I recommend unless you really, really want to do it. There's three phases to fasting, and I don't think that you should go to the usual fasting is a 16-hour fast with an 8-hour eating window. That's the usual one. I usually start people off if they ever do. I start them off at a 12-12, so you can eat for 12 hours and fast for 12 hours. We'll do that for a week, and then you go into the 16-8. And then if you want to keep going up, we then go into a 19-5. For an OMAD diet, an OMAD diet is literally you fast all day and eat one meal, right? One massive meal of, you can honestly eat whatever. That's the key about fasting, is you can still eat whatever you want when you're fasting. And you don't have to, oh, I need to eat all this whole foods. I need to eat all this stuff. What fasting does is the food that we eat today is very processed.
Yes.
And it takes a long time to get through our digestive system. So if we're just storing all this food, it takes longer than unprocessed foods to get through us and come out of us, and that it's sitting there throughout the day and throughout the time that we're sleeping. But when you fast, it clears out your gut. Now, this is scientifically researched and proven, by a lot of fitness health, I wouldn't say doctors, but health experts. A lot of them say that there was a study actually done on fasting, and they've proven and figured out that if you were to fast once a week for 36 hours, your growth hormones double, your testosterone jumps up, and literally, I'll explain growth hormones in a very simple term. When your growth hormones go up, the amount of work that you have to do in the gym drops tremendously. So you would go from working out in the gym 5 days a week to working out 2 or 3 times a week for 30 minutes tops in the gym, just by doing a fast, because it would do the same exact effect. You're clearing up your gut, it cuts out your belly, all that stuff that sits there, it just goes away. And you're not only going to look good, you're going to feel good. It does take, I think, one of the biggest things that I've always noticed with people at the start of fasting, and it just determines how bad you really want it sometimes, because you're going to have those cravings at the beginning of a fast. You get into a fasting period, and a lot of people on like a 16-8, whenever you're doing a 16-8, I still have you keep a diet. um, I'm not super, we only diet to get where you want to be. And then the last phase of my program is building that as a lifestyle. So I do macro planning based off of, to get you where you want to shred or bulk where you want to get. And then once you get where you want to get, we now make that a lifestyle. How can I make it as easy and simple as possible to keep this going, so I never go back to where I was at? Because this is what most people struggle with. They don't struggle with losing weight. They struggle with keeping the weight off. It's easy to lose weight. It's Anyone can do it. I think anyone does, everyone does it. It's just keeping that weight off is what they have trouble with. And that's why I always try and incorporate fasting. Not only does fasting help you with dieting, when you fast and you stop, so the usual one that I do, that I have people do, is you start eating at 8 a.m. or whenever you wake up, you eat at about 8 or 9 a.m. and then you stop eating 8 hours after that. It now gives you a lot more time before you go to sleep to digest all that food. And now you're going to go to sleep way easier, way easier. That's the number one thing that I've heard from all my clients, and especially what I've seen within myself, is that when you fast, your sleep is incredible. You get way more rest, and on top of that, you fall asleep way faster because you're not going to sleep with this massive amount of food in your belly. But I'm not saying that's perfect for every situation, because, like I said, I do the OMAD diet, and the key thing with that is to eat a massive meal right before you go to bed. And the point with the OMAD diet in doing that is that you eat all your carbs right before bed, and that spikes your insulin level. And when your insulin level comes back down, you're now going to the drowsy state and wake, and you doze off. It's easier to fall asleep. Now, then you wake up in the morning, you got all this energy stored inside of you, and you go to the gym and burn it all off. And it really gives you amazing results in the gym too. But the key thing with my program is I make it simple, easy, and very effective. Some people I don't even I've that some of my clients have never gone to the gym and they've seen results. I've had people losing 50, 30, 40 pounds in 4 or 5 months, and they don't spend any longer than 20 to 30 minutes in the gym. And that's the 3 to 4 times, maybe 5 times a week. And that's the key, is that I want to make it a lifestyle, something easy that you can see a result and then be able to keep that on for the rest of your life, because no one wants to just see a summer bod. They want to be able to keep that. And what's the easiest way to do that? That's what people look for. They don't want to spend hours in the gym because they don't have that time. They don't want to spend hours preparing food and then trying to scale and weigh all this food. That's boring and it's not going to last long. So they need, that's one thing that I give, is a way on how to do these things the simplest and easiest way.
Oh man, thank you, man. That was something when I saw that and you mentioned it now, because I had been seeing a lot of it. And actually a coworker of mine, he's doing this program, and he talks about his fasting and all, and how much he feels the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I'm interested in, and it's something that I'm looking into applying and doing, and seeing the results. So that's why the question. But it's a fitness. See, so fitness is your purpose. It's trying to get people into better health and better nutrition.
Yeah. So fitness and nutrition is the focus. But through fitness and nutrition, people start to see a mental change. And that's the whole point behind my program. Is that's why I have the mindset in there. We work on mindset through, because we don't believe in motivation. We don't believe in this facade of, oh, like you need to always stay. There's no such, I don't believe there's such a thing as motivation. Motivation lasts for what, 2 maybe 3 days, and then it disappears. I think it's more grit and motivation and what's your why and why you're doing it. If that's big enough, then you'll go no matter what, no matter how you feel. Because our purpose is that you do it sad, you do it mad, you do it happy, you do it when you don't want to, when you don't feel like it, because consistency is the key. When you do something over and over and over again,
Yeah,
you're bound to see results.
yeah. It's with anything in any
Yeah.
facet of life. Even with me doing the podcast,
Yeah.
when I first started, I wasn't consistent with it, and
Mm,
so of course you won't see the results. And
mm,
then when you are consistent with it, when you are releasing weekly, when you are doing the work, and then you start seeing the results, because you're putting in the effort, you're putting in the work that's necessary. If you're not consistent with it, people are not gonna they're gonna be like, oh man, this dude is not he's not there. He releases 1 month, then he doesn't release it the next month. But if they see that you're releasing every week, and they
mm.
see the improvement in what you're doing, they're like, oh man, this guy really has started here, and look at how he's grown in the time that he's done it. And it's and
Exactly.
and it's with anything. It's with
Yeah.
anything in life, where if you're consistent with it, if you really put an effort towards it, and really work hard, and learn. And I'm sure you've learned so many different techniques and exercise,
Mm,
and you've been able to simplify it to help your clients. And but you've learned so many different things. It's not you.
mm.
So everything they're getting is your vast experience. It's everything
Yeah.
you've learned about working out and not diet and nutrition and all that.
Mm.
So with that, you are you evolving? You're always learning, right? You're always
Yes, yes, always. So even now, like I continue, like my education will not stop. I'm a big believer, and until the day I die, I probably will never stop learning. I'm not stuck on one thing. If somebody can prove a method is true and it works, I'm going to learn how to put that into effect. Um, like you could even look at my fitness journey. When I first started fitness, I started in the bodybuilding industry. I wanted to look big, I wanted to look massive, and that's more of like a hypertrophy training, and hypertrophy training is literally a mind muscle connection, but like isolating your muscles and focusing on things like dumbbell bench press. You can work on dumbbell shoulder press or lateral raises, things like that, that really isolate and focus on certain muscles. And my fitness went from there. It moved on to powerlifting, which is the three moves of bench press, deadlift, and squat, which are three movements. And I did that for a while. I went from there, I moved into yoga. I became yoga bound, and I was stuck on yoga for a long time, through the art of movement. And you can become that's where I really learned my nutrition, is learning to feed the body and mind with what it needs to be able to see the best optimal performance. And go ahead.
So with the with you implementing yoga and stuff, it, I'm sure it really made a difference on your overall workout experience because now you're also learning about flexibility. Not just working, not work. You're just not focused on building up massive muscle. You're also learning about flexibility and the importance of movement in your body. Your body needs movement. That's why for us, a lot of us Americans we're obese and not out of shape is because we don't go walking. If you were to go
Mhm.
out and walk 30 minutes a day, it will help because we do need movement. Our body needs to be. A lot of us just sit home, watch Netflix, eat all this processed food, and not do anything about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy, man, because a lot of the people that I've trained, I don't send them to the gym. Like, if I get a client that's 300 pounds, never has gone to the gym, you think the first thing I'm going to do is send them to the gym? Send them to the, that's going to be the last thing I do. I'm going to send them to start moving more. So if you don't move at all, like, let's try and get 8,000 steps in a day. Okay, we got 8,000 steps for a week. Let's try 10,000 this week. And then let's try and get that up to 15,000 slowly but surely. Okay, literally, I promise you that if somebody were to change up their diet just a little bit, get their metabolism right, change up how much they eat, they start moving more and they start eating more protein, 10,000 steps, more protein, and they change up their diet, eat a little less than they have been, and continually scale that down month after month, within no time, you're going to start shredding off weight faster than you've ever seen. And those are simple methods that will not take any effort to do. It's literally eating less than you did the day before, or the week before, or the month before, however, what you can handle. And then it's moving more. And then you start to eat more protein, and your body now starts to react to that. And you start seeing the flesh just disappear, and you're like, what did I do? And I would even say, so there's actually scientific proof that drinking more water helps you lose weight too. And all of that just helps you flush out your metabolism and helps things run through you a lot easier. So drinking more water, moving more, 10,000, I would minimum 8,000 steps a day. 15 if you really, really want to see amazing results. And then just simply eating more protein and eating less amounts of fatty foods and carbohydrates, and you'll see massive changes just by that. You don't need to go to a gym. You don't need to do any fad diets. There's nothing, it's nothing crazy. It's very simple, but I think it's just starting, just doing it. Even though you don't know what you're doing, you got to, because everyone that has went to the gym, they started somewhere. I
yeah.
mean, there's so many people. Like, I started somewhere, and I went from bodybuilding to powerlifting to yoga to now I'm doing CrossFit, and I'll probably one day start getting into Ironmans and triathlons, and I don't want to ever stop because I love how it feels, and the body treats you better when you start to give it what it wants, and it wants movement. Movement, I think, and one of the biggest things too is that I honestly don't think that depression will be a thing. I was a big believer that it was actually a thing. And I told you I wanted at one point to commit suicide, and I related a lot. The fact that I didn't do it was just moving more. I don't feel like you have time to think about that stuff when you just move. And I think when you move more and you feed your body the right nutrition, you can, and there's so many different ways of movement. Like, you can do Qigong if you're into like martial arts. You can do all these different types of stuff, whether it's martial arts, boxing, walking, running, swimming, whatever you're into. I think movement itself is a form of art, and your body wants that because the body's built to run 19 miles a day. That's scientifically proven. 19 miles a day. And when I think about that, I barely even do that. I don't do that. I don't do that. And your body is built for so much, and it wants you to move. So I think rewarding it with that, it'll reward you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, it's that time where you get the solo screen, you get to plug away, let everybody know where exactly they can find you. Um, so yeah, give me 1 second and I
Okay.
okay, why is it not letting me do that? Oh wait, I'm on the wrong side. Sorry. There we go. Go ahead. Now it's all you.
All right, guys. So if you guys are ever looking for help in your fitness journey, you guys can contact me on mostly social media. My Instagram is going to be David underscore Messano, one of 18. You can also contact me on Facebook, where you can find me, my name, David Messano, where I would help you out as much as I possibly can. Where I have a Facebook group too. So if you want that, that has in depth macro calculators, fasting diets, how to get in shape with 30-minute workouts, how to only work out for with minimal amounts of equipment. I give all that stuff out for free. Come and contact me on Facebook and I will give you access to my Facebook group.
I'm talking and my mic is off. Oh, here we go. All right. So again, thank you for coming in. Definitely everybody check out his Instagram, check out his Facebook. Go ahead, like it, subscribe, go follow him on Instagram. Definitely share his stuff. David, this has been amazing. Thank you for stopping by and sharing your story. Greatly
Of
appreciate
course.
it. It's
Thank you.
interesting because like I said, lately I've been seeing a lot about the fasting and it's really something
Mhm.
that really caught my interest. So when I saw you coming on, I'm like, all right, you're having this conversation with David and I can and you brought up fasting and you reminded me to ask you. So yes. But thank
That's
you.
awesome, man. Of
No,
course.
listen, conversations are meant to happen. And
Yes.
there's
Yes.
times people need to communicate and people need to connect. And I feel like every time I connect with somebody on my podcast, it's something that either me or my guest needed to have this conversation. I feel it was something I needed to have this conversation to hear you talk about um just not you don't have to go like going to the gym and all, but you're saying just start off with movement and all. Just listening to you hear that and say, yeah, I need to take my butt and go out and take some walks. And I live in a nice community, so there's no excuse for me not to go outside and go take a 30-minute walk. So
Nice. Yeah,
you've
that's it.
inspired me to really get my butt up and start really going out and getting my body moving.
That's what I want, man. I'm so thankful that that touched you, man. I appreciate that.
But thank you for everything, man. Don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show, and we're gonna chat a little bit off the air. But thank you so much for being a part of the show, brother.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so now we are closed. Now we are giving our shout outs. Shout outs to Cece for coming through and saying hello to me and David. She's very supportive, greatly appreciated. Thank you, Cece. Whenever you're ready to do what you do, let me know so we can work on that. Big shout out to everybody who's watching on the replay. Thank you. Big shout out to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady who's away in Wisconsin for work. Gonna miss you. She's gonna be gone for 2 weeks. So gonna be home alone for 2 weeks, people. God help me. And as always, a big shout out to everybody, to all the essential workers out there. God bless you. Be safe. You know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.